appoint to hold the key positions. Yes, they appoint fools. Some of them only have a baptismal certificate, yeah, and they get appointed. We are smarter than these people. We have them on the ropes. So thank you very much.
Hiyo ni mara ya kwanza ati baptismal certificate.
Lakini
yeah, unajua kina Sudi jamaa kuna baptismal certificate. The only thing
ulizaliwa tu.
Yes.
That's your only qualification.
Yes.
But
Sorry.
but seriously, I think hapo kwa communication, I think I've had about 5 different working groups. Kuna content creation, kuna fact checking, kuna rapid response, which is not necessarily the same as PR or media. So there's media, there's communication, there's PR, there's rapid response, there's graphics, there's content creation. Or content creation or graphics might fall under content creation. But let's think seriously about all of these things.
Mumekuwa kahi government ati we need small government.
Regrouping,
Sini volunteer. Hakuna resource.
All those groups can be one. We are trying to reduce the budget.
Okay, guys. We don't need to micro break ourselves so much, because in all these groups, there's going to be subgroups of what everybody is going to do and what it entails. So I think let's continue.
Regrouping wants big government.
No. We must be efficient. We must be efficient, because we also want to keep them in one group, so because they cross-pollinate each other as well.
But I suggest hapo kwa content creation, we approve Regrouping as our capinto. Mnataka afanye nini Africa?
Huyo yuko IMF.
Okay, Mizani, I don't know if you have a baptism card.
That I must be a baby boomer.
Now,
to Africa Center, before you go quickly, to address what Regrouping said, there's media distribution and press, and there's what was the other one, Mizani, that was dealing with the same thing?
Rapid response or ad hoc?
No. That was one of the ones that should fall underneath it. There's coordination, operations, media distribution, and online activities. That's not enough to take care of everything that was mentioned by Regrouping.
I think that already works, but we can always work around the nitty-gritty later on. But I think we already have the skeleton of it. So we can, the fact checkers. So we don't need to break our heads over here. But I hear you. I hear you. Gordon, you can proceed. And I ask your question. I'm not a baby boomer, so I have a high school certificate.
But not a baptismal card. Anyway, one day you will want to join one of the institutions in Kenya, and you'll be required to testify how you were saved when you got Christ. I fell a victim, and many others still do. Guys, what you're doing is amazing. One thing I must commend this generation that came out to demand what is rightfully for Kenyans. Is that the generation has achieved what many have failed to achieve. And if you ask me today, the truest opposition, the only opposition we have in Kenya is the Gen Z movement. That is the opposition we have to the government. Remember, even from the times of Kibaki, from the times of Uhuru, the opposition would demand particular things to be done. Government would not give a listening ear to them. Even in this dispensation, the Ruto administration, the opposition has placed so many demands on the table, and the government has not listened to them. But it only took 2 to 3 days for this movement, and all of a sudden the government listens. The government, even before you demand for conversation, they say, we are ready for conversation. I've dropped this, I've dropped that, let us stop. So it means that this movement has already rendered political parties irrelevant. Today, it doesn't matter whether Raila Odinga calls for a press conference, whether ODM calls for a press conference, whether Azimio. Today, what everyone is watching is what social media is saying, what the generation is saying on social media. So you carry a lot of weight moving forward. In regards to what has already been proposed, I want to propose something here. Whatever has been proposed is good. It will be figured out as you go by, will be fine-tuned as you move. But this is what I suggest. Can this generation find a way? Can we all find a way and means of having representation in each and every ministry within the government? Guys, I happened to, before Africa Center for Diplomatic Affairs happened, I happen to have worked with an institution that deals with the debt and development called Afrodebt. Again, I happen to have worked with an institution, a public finance institution. I can tell you, all bad things don't happen now. All bad things happen during budget. There's no stealing that happens after budget has been passed. No, every stealing happens, every theft in government happens during the budget making process. I want to give you a case in point. For example, independent offices and commission. For example, in the the other financial year, not the last now, but 2023-2024 financial year, the budget there, yes, the last financial year, the budget recurrent expenditure for independent offices and commissions in Kenya was around 7.3 billion. In this financial year, it is 21 point something billion. So you ask yourself, this is recurrent expenditure. Does it mean the government is going to employ 3 times the number that already exists? Does it mean that there is going to be escalation of workers? Then there is duplication of roles within departments, and all these departments in government are funded in tunes of billions. So if Generation Z, Gen Z movement can negotiate their way, negotiation is not a sign of weakness. Negotiation is one way into finding your right foot into the right place so that you get things the way you want them. Sometimes it is super difficult to get the right information from outside. It is much more easier to get the right information to fight from inside. It is good to fight from outside, but make sure as you fight from outside, there is also another foot inside. This goes on, we've organized, goes on as you've already done, but already you also have foot soldiers within. How do you get these foot soldiers within? I saw the president called for some conversation. Whether he goes home today or tomorrow or 2027, I would strongly suggest that this generation get to sit with him down. That is one strategy. As the others goes on, one strategy is sit with the president down. Tell him we must have a shadow cabinet. And this shadow cabinet, for example, whenever a ministry is doing its budget, whenever ministry is undertaking its projects, we have to be there to see what is going on. For example, we know that our sports department or ministry is one ministry that has had fair share of challenges since time immemorial, more so with our athletes. Whenever they go out, you hear the kind of scandals that come. And these scandals do not just happen when they are out there. These scandals happen right from the time of the organization. So it is proper that at every step of every project, this group has its foot soldiers there to oversee. And they can tell the members, guys, This is what is happening. We don't subscribe to it. This is what is happening inside here. It will make the government much more keen and afraid to do the wrong things when they know they have the eyes right within them watching them. That is my suggestion.
Aki, I'm going to ask again. Kwani tumerogwa miaka miwili haijatosha kuona kuwa hawa ni watu wa uongo? So here's my thing. These people have shown that it doesn't matter who is closely looking at them, they will do what they want. Look at this. We have protests, and he just assigned his daughters into office when we are asking for reduction. Yesterday, they were talking about increasing the MPs' salaries. Again, this is not a... Come on, mimi siendi kwa shetani ati nianze kumuuliza ati nitaingia ninio mbinguni aje. I don't know if I'm the only one. Mizani, Brief Scoop, Wanjiro. This whole business of talking to the government, going to them to tell them what's going on, holding them accountable.
All right, maoni ya kataliwi. Let's listen from who else is here? Lucas. We will answer that, kumbukeni. Let's be patient.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Lucas, proceed.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lucas Irongo. I'm happy to join you this evening, and I'm so glad. I've been here listening so much. I've taken a lot from so many people of you who've taken part into this discussion tonight. My submission tonight, I would start by saying that Article 37 of our Constitution, it really gives us the right to picket, demonstrate, and that's what the article gives us. But we as the Generation Z, we are kindly requesting for the accountability, and the public funds has been looted everywhere. And actually, for the landed people, there are no jobs. So, in a certain platform that I was listening to, I think after a very long conversation, there was some questions that were literally arising, which were, if at all today we were to remove Ruto from office forcibly, he might decide to give the powers to the army. And for those who are in the country, the army, if the army, they might decide to give the powers back to the civilian after 30 years. And during the times when the army is in service, there is no one's property. Kama wewe unauza mkahawa, someone can come and get into your hotel and eat some food, and you can't ask that someone any question. So the discussion went on, and the most important body that was to be created was, after all mathematics was done, the equal sign was adding to IEBC. And without the IEBC, then I think we will be doing nothing so far. But my take today, I would take that everyone, before and after, we must go to the streets to demonstrate. I've just had someone who has just asked a question that how, but I was still asking myself that the way to find a way of the representation within all ministries in the government. And I was asking myself, if it was to be this way, who would go? And these Gen Zs are millions of people who are joining inside a platform like this one. How do we appoint someone to represent the Generation Z in a certain ministry? They'll even demand individually. Everyone would like to be a representative of a certain ministry. The other question is, we might appoint some people. We doesn't know who, if after President Ruto will be out of office, we doesn't know the other minister or the other president who will come. And we might come from a frying pan and then we get into the fire. We need to know who is this person who is going to get into this office before we get there. So the constitution of this IEBC, we need to have someone whom we literally know his conducts. Because I think in this constitution of Kenya, there are a lot and a lot and a lot of constitutional amendments that we need to have. In the constitution of Kenya, we have 10 commissions. An example of the IEBC, the EACC, the Judicial Service Commission, the Police Service Commission, which are never independent. And
Kwani ametolewa Lucas?
Lucas amepigiwa simu, unajua ni masaa ya kulala.
Mpenzi amepiga simu basi eh?
Wewe ndio umesema, sio mimi.
Si ni wakati umesema wewe, wakati wa kulala. Haya basi.
All right. Thank you, Lucas. I hope you have been able to submit to the best of your knowledge as we speak. I want to invite who else? I'm tempted to go back to our previous speakers, but before that, let's listen from Jackie. Jackie is here.
Jackie and coach.
Good evening, people. Can anyone hear me?
Good evening. Good evening, Jackie.
I hope you're all doing well. I am not a Gen Z, I'm a millennial, but I have been following everything you people are doing, and we're so proud of you. You have done such an amazing thing, something we didn't have the strength or courage to do. It is amazing, it's admirable, and we've been supporting you in all the ways that we can do. And the only thing I wanted to say is, yes, it's amazing that you're leaderless because you avoid the opportunity to be compromised. And keep it that way if you can, for as long as you can. Because the moment you let them have a moment to come in through you, as they have already done, even without figuring who and who is in charge, they will come for you. We will keep supporting you, and we will come to the streets with you. It's something even our Gen X and previous generations that are awed about. They cannot believe. They cannot believe. They cannot believe. I happen to be around some political circles in my life, and even they're smiling behind the shock and behind the not being able to understand what the hell is going on. But fuck them, I will say that with you. Don't stop going out there. I know it's scary, but don't stop. When we stop, we give them back the power. I would like to stop there, but I also want to tell you that, and especially to address the legal section of the support that you have, get the ones who come to support in, getting out the people who are caught, going to court and all that. But get the scholars, the ones who want to sit down, interrogate every possible avenue of the legal system that we have, because knowledge is power. We are going by snippets here and there. There's so much that will support your movement and our movement hidden within those acts. Let's interrogate that and run with it. Then they really won't believe. And that's my submission.
Mizani, can you guys hear me now?
Wait. We can hear you. I am lost with words because Hannah, you're such a clown. But thank you for being here. I love you for free. Welcome to the space for everyone who's tuning in, and thank you for making time to be here. We'll listen to a watch, and then we'll have an Anna moment. A watch. Okay, Aloch just decided to pass the mic to you, Anna. Go ahead.
Oh boy. Anyways, habari zenu, hamjambo, wherever you are, whatever time it is. You're laughing at me and I was having problem. These people are trying to shut us down when Jiro, I'm saying hello, Brave Scoop, and everybody else in the space. Mizani, thank you for the second space. I don't know what happened to the first one. Were you guys shut down? I
No,
don't know.
actually, I think you and your friends had no mic issues, and Beef Scoop decided to join you, so we lost the space. But we're happy you're here.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. You cannot imagine the amount of technical issue that is going on. First, just to give people out there warning, do not open your DMs if you send a link on your DM. That's how they get to you, and that's how they end up messing your gadget or whatever it is, and trying to shut people's voices however they can. So that is about the goons out of the way. On this platform, do not dare open any link you sent on your DM. Now, what's next? Regroup, organize, and strategize. There was. I'm gonna carry the conversation from the first one because this says part two. Now, Mizani, you are already organically, most of us on groups that is focusing on different aspect of issues that we are having back home. Somebody like Briscoe is on another one, Mizani you are, and so on and so forth. So we all know that we are actually on different group focusing on different matters that are actually affecting us as Kenyans. Some of us are actually focusing on whatever that is actually happening beyond Kenya, but to Africa at large. Now, the one problem that there is that I had somebody saying that we have to. We cannot duplicate this groupings. No, you can duplicate 888. It doesn't matter. The more, the merrier. Because at the end of the day, we are trying to achieve one same thing. In regards to organized regrouping, I think it's organically actually people are doing it. There's something I want to share with you, really amazing that we. There was a young group of people. They met. They decided it was them. Nobody gave them a leader, and they're part of the bigger movement that is going on in Kenya. But you see how they're working is each little group, each little group has their own strategy on how to get to their where they're going to meet, and once they meet there they give each other briefings. There was a young lady with a lot of other ladies and young people. They met in a restaurant. They said if you see a goon, point at them, sit down. They actually, it's amazing the amount of strategies these young people are using while you're out there on the street. How they get there, how they find each other once they're there, what they should do, how vigilant they should be in case of trouble, what they need to do, and so on and so forth. That is that. Now, in regards to how do we achieve these things? uh, if you are already on working groups that are discussing matter, whether it's about farming and the problems that people are having in regards to those farming, whether it's the seeds, whether it's the fertilizers and so on and so forth. Some are in a group where they're focusing on how to deliver education. Some kids, mind you, Gen Z, but the next generation to Gen Z, some of them do not have education. So every water, access to hospitals, there's a lot of groups, mind you, Kenyans that are working. So what I would say, actually, there is no problem with duplicating those working groups, and if you are widening the scope of those working groups. Now, there is other working group within this movement that are trying to shut down the goons who were infiltrating this movement. And in each region or each town, you can see that people are grouping. Some would stay on the watch out during their campaigns, during the mandamanos. Some will point at them. And there is one group that I don't know has surfaced so far for me, but maybe the rest of you can tell me. There is one that I've seen in where Isiolo, they managed to get somebody who had a jargania mafutata on a kibiriti and wanted to light a fire on one of the government's building. And this person was paraded to the police station. He was held there. He did give out the name of the person who hired him. We've seen people confessing. But what do we need? Honestly, if you're working on groups that are actually organized, then I think you should amplify that, widen that scope, whatever it is that you're focusing on, whether the all different aspects of things that are wrong. Organically, I would say find working groups if you're not in one in your locality. If you're not on your locality, maybe reach out to groups that are already in existence um, outside. On different platforms, maybe reach out if you're interested in things to do with how I think Brief Scoop actually does touch base on that, on the World Bank and how they're working and how this, as we can see, we've reached a stage where that this finance bill was drafted and was done in Washington. So how do we do that? How do we focus on that? How do we shut those taps that and so on and so forth? So for me, this saying that we do not want duplicate groups, Mizani on the previous space that was said, I would say I don't think there's anything wrong with that necessarily. If you duplicate it, it's fine. The more the merrier. But probably you might be focusing on same issue but different aspect of it. So I don't think it's a problem. But when push comes to shove, the end goal is one. And for me, that end goal is to end neo-colonialism system that has crippled us. We've just been inserting one leader after the other. For me, yes, maybe the starting point is to get rid of Ruto, but would the problem go away once we get Ruto out of office? I honestly, from the bottom of my heart, believe no, the problem will not end there because another Ruto would come. And we've seen that over and over and over again. So, what is fundamentally wrong with us is not just the person sitting on that throne, but the system that has been put in place since our independence. So, and every time that system is being crippled, they keep taking things off it and they keep sinking this ship. And now the ship is almost sinking. And I think Kenyans and Gen Zs have said enough. We need to rescue the ship. Back to you. I can see Mizania ameinua mikono. I'll end it there for now.
Thank you very much, Anna. I will cross back to Brief Scoop. And I think now Brief Scoop, we almost have to start calling it a night because we already had a long one already. But it would be unfair not to allow all the speakers that are there to make their presentation. So we'll allow 3 minutes each. Kindly restrict yourself to the submission time in order for us to have as many contributors as possible. Brief Scoop.
Mizani, before we move on to Brief Scoop, if you don't mind, I see that the group has grown quite large, and before we move on to allowing other speakers, I need us to stay on course so that we don't become another group of complaining about everything that's wrong with Kenya. Purpose of the group, I just want to go back and just briefly state, purpose of this group is we've realized that our revolution has been hijacked by goons, by opportunists, including politicians. They're trying to sanitize themselves through this campaign, and we seem to have lost focus. What's the purpose of this group? It is to think through when you're going to war. If you don't have a strategy and if you don't have a plan, you're going to lose. So we have decided to create working groups that still live within the mantra of leaderless, tribeless, of all those things, that tribeless, leaderless, spontaneity, etc. But we do need working groups under various topics. Number one, we want to look at coordination of the, by the way, we're still committing, it is Ruto must go and he must go yesterday. So we need to understand we must have a coordination group, an economics group, political education group, food security and agriculture, a fact-checking group that is going to be around really media and making sure that we are countering all the propaganda and reacting as quickly as possible, a legal team, a tech team, an online activist group, because some of us can't be on the ground, but we must be soldiers as well online. Defense and security, mental health and wellness, treasury and budgetary oversight. Somebody mentioned it, we had not added it. Governance and accountability, very critical. And then we had a deplatforming. There's one Gen Z who mentioned that as part of the war, we must continue to deplatform and make the ground as hostile as possible. And this is deplatforming all these clowns from wherever they are to make their lives uncomfortable. We also need a group that's going to be rethinking elections. Now, these groups are really just wide ideas. We're going to have another strategy session where we're going to break down what every single group is going to do and how we can also make sure that it reaches at the grassroots level. That's very briefly what we're doing today. I use the mic.
Karanja, are you still there? We seem to have lost you, or you're muted. Okay, I think Karanja is having one of those moments. Kuria, before you unmute, I would like to get a submission from Mapema, and then after Mapema, we'll have Basani. And again, this is not in any way asking you what to do. We are finding out what has to be done together, especially with regrouping and organizing. Because at the end of the day, if you are going to achieve anything, there's a strategic approach to it. So how are you doing it is important. It's not just about doing it. Let's have Mapema, kindly.
Thank you, Mizani. Thank you. I think number one, this movement, as from 25th, I gave it a name, People's Voice Movement, meaning it's not only the Gen Zs. Actually, it's the all Kenyans. Even people outside Kenya are in support of us. So that means it's not only the youths as it's made known. Like if you follow today's parliament sitting or the proceedings, it was all about youths, what the Gen Zs are saying, not Gen Zs, the all Kenyans. But now it's we who have triggered it and who have come idea. Now the point is this. Number one, what we need to do to re-strategize well and organize the team again is to dissociate ourselves with goons. Whenever we see them looting, whenever we see them doing some evil things, we even take responsibilities to arrest them and help the police so that we may be clean and they may see that our protest is purely clean, because these are hired goons by the so-called politicians whom we are fighting to get out of power, so as to dirtify us. That's number 1 point. Number 2 point, we have to dissociate ourselves with these politicians, because now whenever you see their discussions, when you follow them keenly, they pretend to be so holier than before, coming back to our side, pretending that they are now seeing these mistakes. They'd never seen them before, yet when they came to ask votes, they told us all those nonsense they were going to do them. They've not done them, then coming to pretend to us that they want to rectify their mistakes. We have no that time. That's nonsense, man. Third point, we don't need to host any politician like I had Ruto calling us to space, or what Sifuna was saying. We don't want to meet them, man. We gave them time. They've wasted and they misused our time. They've wasted us. Now it's time for us to take actions. Otherwise, may God bless everyone. Let's fight to the bitter ends of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mapema. Clearly, Mapema and your best. Some of the issues you're raising are very fundamental, but also I have questions to some of the things you're suggesting. Again, that is my personal opinion. We'll be looking into that in a few. We'll have now the next speaker. Who was it? Basani.
Thank you, Mizani. I hope you are getting me.
Proceed.
Yeah, to regroup, organize, and strategize Yeah, clearly, yesterday's protests were infiltrated, and for me, I think the politicians, actually, the government sponsored most of them because they want to make the public and to shape opinion against the protests, so that everybody now claims like the protests are disrupting the economy, they are stealing, they are looting, and all that. Their infiltration was strategic. It was actually intentional by the government, so that they can have all the mechanisms or have the only excuse to come and crack the protest and now discredit everything. But that should not be our concern much. We should not relent. If you can see now, every politician wants to now be associated with us. They are shedding crocodile tears. They are now claiming to be apologetic. You saw the SRC salary review that came yesterday. When the Gazette notice kicked in, like now from this month onwards, they are going to have a salary increment, and they are all coming over. Some even writing letters like they don't want. They are saying 14,000 that is being added. They are not going to accept. It's not like they are actually thought of us and now they think there is austerity, because at the end of the day, their pay is still very, very high. There is still a lot of wastage. There is still a lot of things to be done. So this momentum should not be lost. This is the only time that the government and everybody in power, all those MPs, regardless which side, whether it's opposition MPs or the government MPs, they are all the same. Politicians are always politicians. So we dissociate ourselves from all kinds of politics. We do not take side by accepting or even being associated with any of them. We will just have to demand a total overhaul. Yeah, we should continue with the Ruto must go, as much as there is all confusion about the lack of AIBC and all that. But the ultimate goal should be Ruto must go. When we put on more pressure, it is be easier for us to now make him listen to the demands of cutting costs and wastage in his government, shedding off some cabinet secretaries, cutting off some wastages and all that. But if we refuse, if we stop and we go to the negotiating table, we'll have lost it. At the negotiating table, immediately we start negotiating. Now we will not be having any other excuse of coming to the street, because they are saying all the grievances you are putting, we are going to, it's already in the negotiating table. And now at that point, we are not going to control it. They can drag those negotiations up to even 2027 and beyond. The reports we know it's going to come, and now nobody is going to implement. Even those negotiations are going to be costly. You will find those who are coming, they will be booked in big hotels, they'll be paid per diems and all that to collect the views from the citizens. At the end of the day, we are still losing money. We have lost the momentum. They're still going to remain. Ruto is a liar. He's not going to say any truth. He's not going to even accept anything like concessions and all that. It is only pressure that is going to continue. So we continue with our demonstrations. But yeah, we should be vigilant. We should be able to dissociate ourselves from all violences so that our message remains clear. Like, people know these people are demonstrating because of A, B, C, D, and dissociate ourselves from all those kinds of violence and all that. Yeah, thank you. That's what I wanted to add. My junior is
Thank
coming.
you,
I see the
Basani.
mic.
I think that young man understands you need to be fighting for his tomorrow. Now, something that I like to bring to your attention for all of you who have been to the Nairobi CBD, you realize every day after the protests are done, the following morning, the streets are spotless clean. Did you notice that? Let's go to the next speaker, Deju. The mic is yours.
Can you guys hear me? Mic yangu inashinda. I don't know what's happening.
You're breaking up. Una break
I'm
up.
breaking.
Okay,
Sawa.
brief scope.
Let
This government already broke up with us. Also, your connection is breaking up with us. What are we supposed to do? Deju.
Mizani, quickly to address the last speaker. God, I'm forgetting his name. Quickly, kabla ya Dejo. Oh God, I'm forgetting the person's name who just spoke. I was going to say, for those of you who want the word to go out as to what you're doing and the fact that the movement has been co-opted and you're not aligned with those people who are coming out, we're going to be having this conversation on Sunday on Kumbukeni. You can follow us. Come into the chat. We're going to have our following is largely abroad, the diaspora, your brothers and sisters here in the West. So come and share with them what's going on in the chat and be a part of the conversation. Asanteni.
Thank you very much. We'll have Deju, and you know what to do when Kubukeni will be hosting. Deju, please. Your 4 minutes, kindly prosecute.
Yes, good evening to all members. First of all, I thank you, Mizani, and your co-host for holding the space. Secondly, I'd like to send my condolences to our past comrades. Thirdly, I'd like to remind us all that the blood that was spilled on the streets, we should never let that blood go. So my first strategy, first of all, I'd like us to deploy, if possible, we need to deploy drones so we can get to understand exactly what happens on our Maandamano battleground. To get to know exactly what happens, we need to take advantage of the drone technology. Then number two, I want us to up the tempo. You know, we're like a racehorse which should wear blinders. It's like we took off our blinders and now we are looking at what is government doing, what is government saying. As much as they're doing what they're doing, situation awareness, we need to be aware, but we need to be focused. We need to be pushing those hashtags because they attract international attention. So in the international space, people get to know what is going on. And then number three, I want to talk about the rugby strategy, which is a sporadic attack kind of strategy. So in the game of rugby, when we have a kickoff, we have the ball. We had this narrative. So we kick the ball and then we have a rush attack to secure the ball. And in rugby, the moment the ball is with the opponent, you are the one who is feeling the pain because he's hitting you and you're backpedaling and he's running over the mauls and he's controlling the game and he's controlling the ball. You keep backpedaling until you get to the try line where he scores. And again, he comes for the kickoff. And if you repeat the same mistake, again, he'll kick the ball in the air. He'll come on a rush attack. He'll get the ball. He'll bosh you. So at the end of the 80 minutes, 90 minutes, you'll be having so many bruises. You didn't enjoy the game. So I want to take this analogy for us to take the narrative because we had the narrative. But now when these guys started countering, it's sort of like we gave them the narrative. We need to take the narrative back. We need now to have a sporadic attack strategically. If we are going to a ministry, we focus on the issues, the scandals, and we make sure we push the hashtag, we make sure we occupy that space, we make sure our message is heard, and then we move to the next point of weakness. If it is finance, we go there, we want to know accountability, we want to know these loans, they have to be made public, and we keep pushing both on ground and in the media space. And basically that way we carry the narrative. And anytime, for example, what we saw this week, basically they're trying to gaslight you. For example, if they come up and say that SRC is hiking, is bringing up the issue of more pay raise for the MPs, and then now the MPs come and pretend like we don't want it. So basically they're taking the narrative away. And basically that was planned for them to sanitize themselves and look like they're good. So we need now to take the narrative and look at exactly how much they're paid and audit it and counter it and juxtapose it to the situation of the average Kenyan. That's how we run the narrative. So if they say that we've rejected 14,000, now we come and put down a list of what they earn, and then the list of an average Kenyan, and we see this excess pay juxtaposed with other developed countries where MPs are paid not necessarily high, and then we expose them. So that way, the ball is not in their arms, but we control the ball, we control the narrative. Thank you.
I think, Mizani, that calls for a counter propaganda group, no?
I told you we have a lot of work to be doing here, including the facts
Yeah.
checking. And I like what Diju is saying, because at the end of the day, we have to be realistic. Brief Scoop and I have continually spoken about the issue of minimum wage. I was impressed to hear that on the floor of the Senate, that now they want to talk about the average minimum wage in Kenya. Why would a whole politician earn about 1 million Kenyan shilling, and the people that are paying those taxes and ensuring they are paid in terms of their salaries, they actually get a salary of about 10,000 shillings? Last week, when we had a space, we had this lady talking to us, and it was very, very sad. We have put a bite of that on on our timeline. You can look at it, and that tells you the disparity is so bad that we can no longer pretend these things are not hurting us. So the whole idea of strategy is to look how to unseat these lies that we've lived in the many years. Kumbukeni, yes, indeed, we need to go and see how to work on that, and countering the propaganda and countering the lies and facts. That is something we are interested to do.
I just added the group in the form.
All right, Briefs, want us move next because you've been having some challenges.
Naweza jaribu. Am I audible?
Yeah, I think Brief, you're on the
Yes.
move, so you might be experiencing some serious connection issues. But if you don't mind, I'll go to Barusi, and then Mapema, we've already talked to you, so let's go to Barusi, and then we'll have Alenga, then that is hashtag Kenya Change Makers. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Hilary. Okay, basically, I'm passing my condolences to those who lost life and quick recovery to those who are nursing wounds sustained by police brutality and government goons in different hospitals and from home. Okay, according to the first strategy, which I would really wish is the first strategy which could work on our favor, is a divide and rule strategy, whereby let them fight amongst themselves, because we are dealing with a politician who have looted a lot of, in terms of billions, a lot of cash, and they can easily bribe our fellow youth to fight against ourselves. And in addition to, when they notice that there's a weakness in their society, they can use their money to influence a set specific group. Example is in Eldoret, where they're trying to radicalize youth so that they fight against their fellow youth. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is we can still hold on our demonstration. At least we, especially for us who had inhaled enough tear gases, we heal for a while, and then also to visit those who are in different facilities, and also to fast track those who are also jailed with no trials, and to follow up on those who are held in different facilities without communication. You must force all those guys so that at least we get hold of them, all of them. And then also, in addition to that, also uh, uh, the government currently especially the government usually uses the same strategy of divide and rule. Example, it was the narrative of hustler versus dynasty, whereby they built on need to get the votes. And then the last year they went to the narrative of employment versus no employment, to get the narrative of hiking the taxation. So the recent one, it was they started another narrative whereby they have it versus not have it, whereby they were trying to create a narrative whereby those guys who are on the street, there are those who are having iPhones or heavy gadgets, so that they are rich kids versus the poor ones. So basically, if at all you use the strategy of a divide and rule for them, like the way they have started dividing, you can see the government side whereby they around the Mount Kenya regions, like the vice president and the president. There's some rumors whereby the president is the NSA is trying to investigate the vice president who suspecting that he is being involved in this one. That's the best ever. It will work for us best. So that's all what I can tell, and have a lovely evening. Good day.
All right.
We Barusi, hujavuta tear gas?
Hey, nilivuta ya kutosha mpaka hata naumwa na mapavu hadi saizi.
Lakini niliona watu huko anavuta like kama bangi na ako sawa.
Okay.
Well, I think the problem is your lungs. It's not the tear gas.
we are trying to adopt.
In short, unasema vitu Burusi anatuambia ni stories za jaba, lakini si jaba, ni stories za tear gas. Anyway, MC Tear Gas, thank you for coming. Oh, sorry, Barusi, thank you for coming.
Speaker, Madam Speaker, I'd like to tell you that I stand here a very sad person. And yet, indeed, I'm also deeply happy because it has been something that I've been dealing with at a personal level in terms of my responsibility as a legislator. Madam Speaker, before I proceed with saying anything, I would like, first of all, to mention a few names. I want, just like my colleagues have said, my brother Harun Cheriot, I knew you were worthy, but I now know you are much more worthy than I thought you were. You have actually surprised me. I remember once I made a phone call to you and I was asking you, how do we manage this thing of Madam Nyakango? And you said, please tell her to know that we are trying to figure out what to do. And I took the message, and that's when I knew that you are a serious person. I'm proud of you. Keep it up. Madam Speaker, I also would like to mention the name of Madam Nyakango, who's the Controller of Budget, and Madam Nancy, who's the Auditor General, the two incredible women of this republic. If I had my own reward, I would give them. Because when everything else seems to have been failing, some of us have been talking to them, and all the time we feared for their lives. Why? Not because anything would happen, but the costs were too high. The expectation was much higher. They have done their job, and I'm so happy that this house, which is known as the Oversighting House, has seen the light. My colleagues who are in this house, I'm very lucky because sorry, I've lost my voice a bit. I'm lucky because I have the institutional memory. I have been in politics for the last 30 years. Those 30 years I've been in elected politics, about 22. Madam Speaker, the problems, the way Mzee Odinga said about Kenya, have not been started by President William Ruto. If you look at the history, and Madam Speaker, the other day people were asking me, how did you tell that these young Gen Zs are actually going to come to the streets after 1 year? I said, I look at the trend. If you look at independence 1962-3, that was the 20 years beyond where the liberation movement took place. After that, we got independence. It took another 20 years for us to have a military coup. The people who are guiding and who are within that military coup are not old men like Jaramogi or Charles Njonjo at that time. It was young Gen Z students of the University of Nairobi and young people who believed in the ideal of what Kenya was. The second issue that came up, Madam Speaker, was after, by the year 2002, there was another 20 years. Then you come to 2002 is when Kibaki was elected, is when we have a referendum, is when we have a new constitution, and then we say Kenya is now on the right path. After that, Madam Speaker, we did not follow the letter of the constitution. What many of us have never understood is that your democracy is as valid and as reasonable and as verifiable and is implementable as the people who are willing to follow and implement that constitution. We have completely failed our people. And that is why when the elections took over and we had challenges, and that is why when you look at our country and the crisis that has come up, when you look at the issues which are bedeviling our country, you realize that we are on quicksand. Unless you have old men and old women, people of dignity and decency, people who have got wisdom, people who are not greedy to fix this country, we will not have a country very soon. Madam Speaker, I've served as an assistant minister. I went to Cote d'Ivoire, sent by President Kibaki to go and visit President Gbagbo. I got into his house. He was wearing a vest. That time the military was around him. He was being deposed. 2 weeks later, he went home with his wife. They were half naked. Those sins are not sins that Africa should be proud of. Madam Speaker, our country has broken down. Our country has challenges. But before I go to how, in a short notice, what we can do, I would like to ask the President, and I asked him the other day, the children who died and the children who are in the prisons, please remove them. Those who have died, I want to ask this House, the Senate, let us make sure that those children get a state funeral. Those who are not criminals, these are children who had reached a dead end. Madam Speaker, what is wrong with our country? We call it a company with shareholders. Our country is not a company. Our company is Kenya, which is a state. It has 50 million people who all expect and demand certain services from the state. We, the politicians in this House, I heard my colleague speak. I am so happy that we are now telling each other the truth. We are the ones who carry militias. We are the ones who go and carry cattle rustlers. We are the ones who have got companies that are doing business in government departments. We are the ones who are stealing the money. Look at the national government, I'll call it down, bring it down to the National Assembly. We must begin to look at issues like CDF. We must look at the Women Fund. We must look at the structure. Do we need all the people who have been given offices? I've been asking this publicly. Why are governors running county governments as if they are private companies where they are stealing money, buying properties abroad, driving such big vehicles, including ourselves? When did we decide that I must drive a car which is 4.8 cc? That at 3,000 cc is not good enough. When our children don't have medicines, when our women are not giving birth, when we can't feed our children, when we buy fertilizer, we deal on it, we sell some of it, we sell mchanga. We are bringing in maize when we are supposed to be planting maize and giving farmers fertilizers and giving them funds so that we can get production and increase that, so that we create jobs for our people. It is we politicians who go and buy 2 million tons, 2 million metric tons of maize. We come and sell. We bring 3 million metric tons of sugarcane. Mumias is dying. Chemelil is dying. Sony Sugar is dying. Those are factories that used to employ people. Who are the biggest dealers of investment companies in Kenya? We, the political class. What happened to Kenya Airways? Look at it now. It's smelly, filthy. It was the pride of Africa. Who runs Kenya Power? Why are we not told who are the owners of the independent power suppliers of this country? Why are we not being told who owns our national parks? But you hear money is being stolen by none other than the elite and the political class. These people out here are tired. These people are tired. I was crying this morning today because we are messing up a good thing. We are messing up this country. Who wants to be a refugee? And there's enough for you people to eat, so long as you eat with manners. The revenue we collect is enough to run 8 African countries: Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania. You go to Congo, you go to South Sudan, you go to Somalia, and you go to Ethiopia. That's what our goddamn budget is. Just manage it, don't steal it. A few people are stealing too much. These kids out here, they know everything. They know your houses. They know where your kids go to school. They know which properties of land you have. Why must somebody have 4 million acres of land to his name? What happened to our mentality? Then we pretend and run to churches talking about Christianity, how Jesus... Do you understand what you are dealing with? The people out here don't even believe in God anymore. The people out here are tired of the lies, the religious organizations. And I have to say this, I'm a Catholic. I was so happy I saw the Purple No-Show talk about the issues of a country. Let us forget that we can run this country as tribes. Let us accept that there is a new sheriff in town. That sheriff is the GNC. They are partyless, they are tribeless, they don't have money, they just have bundles and a phone. And they'll stop this country to move. I would like to plead with the members of this House when it comes to looking at what role our committees are playing. Look at what happens. I want to thank my brothers Sifuna, my brother Chirargei. I want to thank Madam Dulo. These are, many of you may not know, we've never discussed it here. How many times we've been threatened that we are raising issues about county governments losing billions. I mean, who doesn't know how many governors own apartments and houses in Kilimani Road? Each one of them owning an apartment costing 1.5 billion shillings. Why didn't the fool just go and build a hospital where he comes from? How I wished we stole the money and put it at home. Some of them are going to Dubai. People are going to America. You see on social media. I just saw somebody commenting saying that the senators got nothing to do. I want him to tell me how he bought a Bentley and is an MP. Explain to me, how does somebody, I mean, the truth is, I'm born with advantage and privilege. That is the truth. I saw my father driving a big car when I was a small boy. That is not what drives me. What drives me is, how do you get a member of parliament driving a Mercedes that costs 49 million shillings? And we are watching, and that is normal. And it is okay. And it is okay. Shame on us. Then we make sure this money doesn't go to the schools. We make sure that hospitals have no money. We start building hospitals now. We want the poor people to come to those hospitals. Poor people can't come to Nairobi Hospital. They can't come to Aga Khan. They can't, some of them can't afford Kenyatta. You saw the other day, Kenyatta has a debt of 6.6 billion. The Eldoret Hospital, Eldoret KTRH, has a debt of 3.9 billion. When you ask, they tell you we don't know where the money went. Are we fools? Do we need to buy houses which have got 15 bedrooms and drive 19 cars and put them in your parking lot, and you want 10,000 acres of land? You want a ranch? You fools, you go and buy a ranch in Australia. This is where we are. We keep blaming the police. The policeman cannot do anything. Have we ever gone as a Senate to go and see where the police lives? How he takes his kids to school and his salary is 19,000. And this house has to start thinking about those things. We guys must begin, and we ladies and gentlemen in this house must begin to agree that we can reduce our salaries, that we can drive smaller cars, that we can wear kaundas. In fact, the only thing I'm very annoyed about the president, I'm the one who started wearing kaundas. Now he has given kaunda a bad name. I want Kenyans to love kaundas the way I loved them. Let us wake up, Kenyans. We can't play football. Money comes from FIFA, it is eaten. World Rally Championship, money comes from there, it's eaten. You go, you want Kenya Lawn Tennis Association, they only want 50,000 to hold an international tennis tournament. Not even the minister appears there. But when the minister is traveling out of the country, he's got how many people? Private jet, goes to Dubai, books one of those hotels, luxury hotels, and he comes back to Nairobi with the same 9 people he took with a private jet. And you assume that the Gen Zs don't know. These days they track you. They can know which private jet you took, where it went, and how it came back. Many of us are worried because either because of history or because of what has happened, we have got a lot of money now, we are owning so much land. Please allow us to have spatial planning. Your land, we can have an implemented law in this house to protect your even identity. But please don't stop stealing public land. Let us have mercy at our people. You saw people from Eldoret and Kakamega talking about, oh, our chambers which our grandfathers left for us. Now you guys who are MPs and senators, you come, you chase us away, and then you throw us into court. You go and bribe the courts. And I want to talk about the judiciary. We respect you. We know that you are most of the time under the pressure. We know there are certain things which you can even be blackmailed, but we want to hold you at a higher standard. We must hold the judiciary at a higher standard, the legislators at the higher standard, and make sure the president is also at the higher standard. That is how we can move as a country and stop this nonsense. We behave like monkeys running through a forest looking for bananas without knowing whether it's the bananas they want or it's oranges. I really, really want to say this, Madam Speaker, finally. I was nearly giving up on my country. I have changed my mind because of today. The young men who are fighting for this country have done us proud. Let us treat them with dignity. Let us make sure we engage them. Let us stop doing the things which make them angry, desperate, and upset with the ruling class. The truth is, if this country breaks down, it takes all of us down. I can tell you, I was in South Sudan when we were doing the comprehensive peace agreement. I visited as a minister, as a young minister, to go and do what was called a referendum. I've been to Khartoum. I have been to Mali. I've been to
Buchanan, when does it work? For me, anytime
not
after
just as
5
the
o'clock
president's
works.
daughter,
We
but as
don't
one
have
of
the
you,
luxury to
a
wait,
young
so
Kenyan
kesho,
passionate
tufanye
about
kesho.
our country's future.
Yep.
I hear your voices. I
Okay,
understand
you
your
guys want to go
concerns.
tomorrow?
The
Why?
challenges we face as a generation are
Unataka
real and
tukungoje?
pressing.
Unataka tukungoje? Tukungoje?
Sivyo, hapana.
I
Ai,
would like
siwezi
to
ongea
start
leo. My
my
goodness,
statement by
I've been
picking up from the
filibustered.
second last sentence of my last social media
No,
post.
this is
It's
the
a
thing is
statement
kesho
from our
kuna
national
maandamano.
anthem. May we dwell in
I mean, as
unity,
long as if you say we go sawa, but
peace,
just bear
and
that in
liberty.
mind.
Ni kweli, ni kweli,
Unity
ni
is what
kweli, ni
these
kweli.
47 presidents
I
Nilikuwa
and
think,
county
nimesahau.
student
yeah.
associations
So,
representing
and then Mizani
100,000
has
plus
a
young people
space on
from our
Friday.
TVETs, colleges,
If you
and
want to use that space,
universities
we can.
have
But
demonstrated
It's on
today by
Thursday.
coming together.
Karanja, it's on
What is
Thursday.
unique about these
Tomorrow,
groups is that they have
pardon me.
created systems and
oh, kuna
structures
space
that
kesho.
combine national and county governments,
So do
all
we
the way
want
from
to
having
use
ward
that
reps,
space, or do we want to do it on
constituency
Friday
reps,
or
cabinet
Saturday then?
secretaries, and these
Friday kwa sababu
presidents.
kama tunasema
They are
we are
Oh,
challenging
by the way,
themselves to understand how
nitakuwa
leadership and
traveling
governance
on
works,
Friday.
because in the
Itakuwa
next few
kama
years,
depending on
they are
how
the next
early it
MPs, the
begins.
next CEOs,
unaona.
the next founders of
It's fine.
organizations.
I mean,
Saa sita ni
Each
sawa.
one of
Saa
these
sita
young
kama venye
people
tumefanya
has
leo ni
put
sawa.
behind their own individual ambitions and
itakuwa saa
desires
sita
to
itakuwa saa
combat
moja
challenges
kwanza
facing their
on
counties,
Friday.
such as quality education,
So in fact, we are
workforce
dealing
and
with
talent
foreigners on
promotion,
this group. So
mentorship,
we
and
are
the
not talking to Kenyans.
like. They are organized and
Sijasema
have come
hivyo.
together with one accord,
Mi
in
mi
common
nitakuwa
bond,
mi nitakuwa
united.
in
I know this
EAT.
because I have interacted and worked with some of you for the past year or so, and I'm very proud of your achievements thus far. Peace is something that has been far from us in recent days. It is something that we are praying for and leading the front in attaining
Sawa.
as young people.
Ama,
This is why we stand against the particular
or if
protests that have shown no leadership from young
Karanja on Saturday for a special space to look at those groups that have been formulated to propose way forward and how exactly they're going to be operating. In the meantime, tomorrow on Thursday from 8 p.m., as Mizani will be hosting a space, and this is where now we shift gears to the national dialogue conversation, which is very uncomfortable, and we are saying silence is not an option. Let's talk. Let's have that conversation tomorrow as we bring on all the arsenal that we have in addressing the matters of our country. Wanjiru, I will go back to you and allow you to take final comments from our speakers. And really, we must close down before they start imagining tunalipwa mshahara na serikali.
Okay, so who did we have? I'm not good with this. You know what? Mizani, please. We only have 20 minutes.
I will go with Prof before I go to Africa because Prof has been waiting. Then we'll have Shadrach. Basani, I keep giving you the opportunity, but you don't speak. So after Shadrach, we'll go to Joe. Unfortunately, our ladies tonight have decided they'll give the spotlight to Kumbukeni and Wanjiro. So we have no problem admitting any other speaker.
Don't forget the ladies came first. Remember, they were speaking first. Akina engineer Irene now water. So yeah, they were represented in the part one. So it's good.
All right. Thank you for solving that puzzle. Prof, kindly, you have 3 minutes. Maximize on them. Prof? Okay, we don't have Prof, I think. Am I the only one who can't hear him?
No, what
Party, we don't hear him.
All right, let's go to Shadrach. Aya, Shadrach amelala. Joe Agashiku. Greetings, comrade. How are you? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you all.
Right, proceed.
All right. Thank you so much, Mizani. I want to start by saying that the fight is not over. We need to take the fight to them. It's a war, not a one-day event. It's not just one battle. Um, we may have won a few stages of the battle, but we need to regroup and re-strategize. Um, we need to conserve our energy because it's not going to be we are here for the long haul. We're not here for the short haul. So save your energy. We need to take it to them. We need to deplatform them. I like how it's going. How that we don't have those loudmouth politicians in our churches anymore. We need to keep it like that. We need to make sure that those holy spaces remain as such, holy and unpolluted by those politicians. I also want us to make sure we draw a public contradiction. We make sure that we juxtapose their sons and daughters versus our sons and daughters. While they're sending our sons and daughters to Haiti to go and die for the imperial government, they're sending June Rudo to go for a whole year to study that defense college. Um, while they're sending your sons to Saudi Arabia, your sons and daughters to Saudi Arabia and Dubai and other places to work as house helps, they are promoting their sons and daughters to boards of public-owned enterprises, parastatals. And when they don't perform well in one, they are transferred to another, from Ketraco to KRA to Kenya Ports Authority. But our sons, the ones with qualifications, they are being told they need to go out there, get out of Kenya, go look for a job, go get a taxi job in Australia, or go be a janitor in London or US. But they keep their kids here, employed in government. Well, our sons and daughters cannot even make the police recruitment, and they have the grades and they have the physique, they have all the qualifications. Their sons, they get appointment letters at home with signed to join the Kenya National Union of Teachers. So we need to draw this contradiction between how comes are we our sons and daughters, are they children of a lesser God? These people, they work for us, and they are there to serve us. They are not there to extend the privilege that they are serving right now, that they are enjoying right now to their kids. I also want to juxtapose that while their sons and daughters are enjoying education in private schools and colleges, and they some of them can even afford to issue their sons and daughters bursaries to go and study abroad. Some sons and daughters out of some highly populated counties like Kiambu or Nairobi. They cannot even get 5,000 shillings, enough to pay for one term of school. Now, while their sons and daughters are enjoying that private education, they're trying to defund university education. We know that education in Kenya has been an equalizer, but right now they're trying to get that and to make it out of reach from the population. So we need to juxtapose this position. We need to bring them to light. Do not be quiet. The time for being quiet is past. It's time we need to bring all these injustices to light. We should not let them make university education unaffordable in Kenya. How can they raise university education from 30,000 shillings a year to 200 a semester to 210,000 shillings a semester? What is the end goal? Are they really aiming to keep this nation ignorant? Um, when they um, when they make sure that NHIF doesn't work for anyone, are they trying to make sure that we cannot afford health care? When they kill Linda Mama, are they trying to make sure that our infant mortality and the health of our women um, uh, uh, is there no more? So we need to bring these differences to the light. We need to expose them for who they are. Like the previous speaker said, that we need, if those with talent in the arts, they need to highlight this. We need to make sure that they know that we know that they are guilty and we are not accepting this, that the time for silence has passed. I also wanted to urge you and to ask everyone to participate in the process of impeaching these politicians. And when I say these politicians, I mean even some who ran as independents or some who masquerade as a part of the opposition. We know that they are all in bed together.
Thank you very much, Joagashiku. I know I've hurried you up, but we're really out of time. I would like to go to that is Kenya Changemakers. Kindly take 3 minutes. Wajiro, you see your people in Nairobi are sleeping, so we mambo ni faster. So the next.
Hi guys. I'm on. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, proceed.
First, thank you, Mizani, for hosting this space. I know it's late. I know we've spent a lot of nights not sleeping well, but I think it's worthy for a revolutionary cause. First of all, Ruto must go. Kitu ya kwanza lazima aende. Second of all, I want to condole with all the families and friends and colleagues that have that we've lost on the streets. Deaths that were not supposed to have happened. I remember there's a time that the president that we want to oust said that he was meeting some top brass security, saying that they were going to address their cake and outdated crowd management or protest management, whatever. But we never got to hear what happened, what they discussed, or what was the outcome of that. And this also puts in for us the more certainty that he really does not care about us. So it's not really, it was all for cosmetic. About the pay rise, I think it's coming also, it's also a place where a carrot is being dangled to us, and then its rejection is also very cosmetic, because in the past we know that politicians have added themselves hefty amounts of money, And I think this one for 14K or whatever amount seems to